From Glitch HQ on Riverside Avenue in sometimes raining, sometimes cold Minneapolis, this is Nice Games Club, the show where nice game devs talk gaming and game development.
I'm Martha McGarry, and I make nice games.
I'm Steve McGregor, and I make nice games.
And I'm Arthur Croy, I too make nice games. For this roundtable episode, our topics are version control, art direction, and console versus PC. And so, if everyone is ready, let's start. So, GlitchCon happened.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, according to you, listener.
And it was great.
It must have been.
Remember all those cool things that happened, guys?
You know, we made it out alive. It's the most I can say.
Right. We're recording this before GlitchCon. I'm sorry, I'm spoiling it, guys.
Clarification, police. So, I mean, we're all excited for it's coming up for us.
Yeah.
But, I mean, do you have any predictions? Like, what crazy things are going to happen or catch fire? Like,
hopefully nothing on fire.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
well, is it really a party?
Yeah. I mean, got a point.
Things in games can catch on fire.
Sure.
Have red damage numbers popping out of them.
Yes.
It'll be fun. That's my prediction.
Yeah. I think I will like to, what I would like to be true when you listener hear this is that we had a good time and that everyone who came to our talks got something out of it.
Yeah.
I think that's, you're always nervous that you're giving something that's valuable, and I really hope that ends up being true.
Yeah.
I hope people liked our games at Minicade.
Oh, yeah.
Which I guess we haven't announced on previous episodes because before then it wasn't announced, but Fingens and Metro Nexus are going to be in Minicade. So you have played them all weekend by now, I'm sure. And it was a great time had by all.
And you listen to us on stage.
That's right. Because the live show it probably also went great.
Yes.
Of course it did. We didn't get any of the calendar math wrong.
That one hurts. We're going to move on to that thing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the feedback form.
Yes.
Because it's the time of the episode to do that.
Right. nicegames.club/feedback.
Yeah.
We really need it because we have some responses, and we really appreciate all those responses. But
yes, thank you for everyone who has filled it out. It's been really insightful to hear all about what you think and what you find interesting.
Mm-hmm. It's so useful. And we are able to, as a result, adjust how our programming works because of that feedback. But if you would like to add to our feedback and maybe adjust how the show works, you can submit your feedback as well.
Where?
nicegames.club/feedback.
Yeah. And it's, each one of those pieces that comes in, because there's still few enough that we can spend some time reading them. And that's why we continually to beg, please, fill out the form. But each of those gives us something really interesting and valuable. But it's not just that. It's every tweet we get, every iTunes review.
Yeah.
Every little bit of interaction we have with our small but growing audience is incredible. It means a lot to us, and we really appreciate everyone who's reached out to us for any reason, even just to say, oh, hey, I finally listened to you guys. And that's why we always encourage more of that. We're accessible, so access us. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's get started. But first, we have a dog in the room right now.
Yeah, somebody get rid of him quick. I'm kidding.
Yeah, the glitch dog Ikaros. He's very quiet, so you're not going to hear him.
Probably not.
And I don't think we're going to scare him. But he's right by Martha. So if Martha is in a better mood this episode, you'll know why.
Best doge.
Speaking of Martha.
Yes. What's our first topic?
First topic is version control. Ooh. And if you were at GlitchCon, you would have learned a little bit about it in a hands-on workshop that I will have taught.
Will have had done.
Yes. Man, tense. So first I wanted to talk a little bit about what version control is and why people use it.
So what is version control, Martha?
And why would anybody use it?
It's a way of backing up all your project and also a way to share it between different people and merge together both, if two people are working on the same part of the project, that you can merge it together and not overwrite each other's work. Mm-hmm. And that way two people can be working on something in totally separate places and not like a Google Doc where you are seeing the changes each others are each other are doing and don't have to be online. And then you can come together and put it together and not worry about messing everything up that's like wiping out work that someone else has done. Yeah. So,
which is extremely valuable.
Yes.
Working as a team, I know firsthand losing all the work you've done because of merge conflicts and whatever else. So,
well, I know the other main benefit, the thing that I use it for as a single person team is file history.
Yes.
When I work with art documents, I tend to just save new versions and I iterate and I have a whole system for that. But with code and an application all put together, you can't really do that as much. So just having like snapshots is incredibly valuable just for that alone. And it's only one little part of what's great about this system.
Yeah. So there are a couple of different popular version control systems. The one that I used a lot and I really like is called Git. And it works a little bit differently than some of the other ones like SVN I've used before. Git works, it has what's called a repository. So that's where all the backups of your code basically and your projects live. And there's one on your computer, and then you can also have one on a remote computer on a server or someone else's computer or on a flash drive. We did that on the train jam. We had no Wi-Fi, so we couldn't like put it on a remote server. So we passed a flash drive back and forth, and that was
interesting. And that's how you did polls.
Yeah.
Oh, that's clever.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was really cool. So you have what you do is you work on your file, like say you're working on a crab and you're coding an arm.
It doesn't have to be a crab though, right?
It doesn't have to be a crab.
Okay, good.
Could be any sort of thing in your game.
Any sea creature.
Any sea creature. Git only works with sea creature based games. Just kidding. So like say you're working on a crab arm. And so you're working on it and you get it so that you will shoot out and grab something. And so then what you do is you do this thing called staging it. So you tell Git basically, look at this file. This is and the changes on this one. This is what I'm gonna tell you to look at. And once you get all the files you want staged, then you do a commit. So that is the snapshot. That's when you put it up on the pedestal and the thing goes click and takes a picture of it. Yeah. And then you push that commit to the remote repository. And then someone else who's working on another part of the crab arm, which is able to cut off another crab's arm.
Yeah.
And they've got all that all done, but they haven't gotten your changes yet. So what they do is they do the staging and the committing, and then they pull down, they do what it's called a pull, and it pulls all the changes from the remote server, goes and then compares them to all the files on your computer. So it goes, yep, line 1 is good. Yep, line 2 is good, all the way down until it reaches a line of code that is different. And then it goes, oh, wait, what? Oh, this one's different in this one, and this one's different in this one. And if there are 2 lines that end up 2 different things, it will throw a merge conflict.
Yes.
And those are the nasty things that we all hate.
Yeah.
But in the case where these are all time stamped,
yes,
right? So if there's a case with something that's obviously newer, then you don't have you don't have to check every change, right?
Right.
Like manually, it will automate a lot of it for you.
Yes. So override, like it will automate like things that are perfectly compatible together. So you don't have to be like, oh yeah, don't worry, like the color thing, yes, I want that. But if it's like, oh, you're both working on the same function, then it will be like, which one do you want to keep? Tell me. And what you can do is you can go into the code and it will show you like, this is yours and the 3 lines that are yours or whatever, and then this is theirs. And you can go in and edit and say, this, I want to keep this one and I want to get rid of this other part. If that makes sense. It's very hard to do talking, I've realized. It really needs
even for something which you do on the command line, it's still something that is almost best taught visually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
So I'll post some things in the show notes.
Yes.
Well, by the time the show goes up, you'll have all your notes from your talk.
It's true. I'll post my talk show notes in the show notes.
So I find it really important to emphasize to the listener here that like certain verbs that you were using are the verbs that are used in like the UI for certain Git programs and things like that. Like for Fingens, we use source tree, and they use those terminologies like pull to grab other people's changes and like push to push your changes up to the repository and things like that. I don't know if that's the case with when you do it. Line code. Is that the case?
Those are the commands, yeah.
Those are the commands.
You do on the command line. If you open up your computer's, how would you open it on Windows? It's run or something like that.
No, I just use a command terminal or PowerShell.
Yeah,
that. And you can type git pull and then git push.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is it really that simple?
It is.
Well, the history of Git is such that it's really, it was designed to keep track of changes in the Linux kernel.
Oh, okay.
And so it was designed to be simple and small and designed specifically for that purpose, which is part of why, as it grew and became more popular because nothing else was anything like it and could do anything as good as that, that's why some people don't like it. It's because it is actually specialized, but it works for everything, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it comes from a command line universe, like where it just assumes that's how you would do it.
Okay. Interesting.
But Martha, there are GUI applications.
Yes.
GUI standing for graphical user interface.
Right. So, which you will tentatively recommend to people who are too afraid of command line.
Well, no, I think GUI tools are really great, actually. Like SourceTree, like what you use, Stephen, and you use too, Mark.
I do.
And a program I really like called Git Kraken.
Too much fun.
I've ranted about this before, but it is the best program. And those are really cool because I'm talking about like the other thing Git does is branch, so you can like make a copy of the code and start making changes and not affect the stuff that works. So it will show a little graph tree structure of how your project is going and all the commits, and you can go back and click on a commit and see like all the changes that you made in that commit, and it's really cool to see it visually. When I'm using Git, I have a command line mostly to do all the stuff, but I do have my GUI open too to see so I can track it visually.
Ah, okay. Huh.
And Git Kraken has that handy undo button, which will work on commits and commands even if you didn't do them through Git Kraken. So.
Yeah. That's
very nice.
That's something that SourceTree lacks, unfortunately.
Right, because Git keeps a record of every action as well in the repository, not just of every file change. So you can have, there is no Git undo, but Git Kraken can know the last thing you did and then reverse those changes, and without you having to remember what commands they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. That's the one thing. The lovely thing about Git is that it's so flexible and you can do so much stuff with it, and it's really powerful. But the other problem with the flip side of that is that it's very complicated. And if you make a mistake and don't know how to, you can get yourself stuck if you don't know how to get yourself out of things.
Yeah.
Really quickly, instantly.
It's very easy to go down a certain path thinking it's a different path. And when you get stuck, have no idea what to do.
Yeah.
It doesn't help you in any way of doing that. And then you just have to get Martha to help you. And if you don't have a Martha to help you, then I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're out of luck.
Yeah, one thing that gets people in trouble is Git is really good at files that are code files. And it sort of does well with graphics. It just keeps, it doesn't do much with, merge conflicts and stuff. It will just
it'll overwrite a binary file.
Yeah. And in Unity, if you're a Unity developer, you save stuff in these things called scene files.
Yeah.
And that's the visual stage where you add all your little characters and watch stuff happen. And when you save those and there's a merge conflict, usually you could go into, if it's a code file, you could go in and be oh yeah, this is theirs, this is mine, and mix them together. But
It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way because it's all just numbers. Like you go and you're like, is this the crab or is this the background? I don't know because it's just a series of numbers.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how they structured it because they knew that they had to know that people are going to use version control for these things. So it's strange that they decided to structure it in such a way that it's not very source control friendly.
Well, I think the story is they didn't know that.
Oh, really?
Because Unity started out really as a very small ambitions for single user use, and then they just got to it when they got to it, and the architectural structure of it was such that it really made some problems.
Yeah. Well, and one of the reasons why they did scene files the way they did them is because in Unity, you can really easily rename files all the time, and that's because all those numbers are what's keeping track of them.
Yeah.
Like this is file 005, not crab arm or whatever, so you can rename stuff. The scene file will keep track of it no matter what you call it.
Yeah.
The downside of that is that then it makes it really hard.
Well, I can see how that can, like in certain design programs that use referenced files. So in a video editing program or After Effects, which I use a lot for my work, where I do motion graphics, it's dependent on a project file that references dozens of other files. And if you change the name of any of those on the file system, then you do have a lot of trouble. So I could totally see why that philosophy was really important for a similar kind of project-based environment, which was to abstract that away so that it could handle that kind of adjustment. But then it creates issues because those are hidden from the user.
Yeah.
Right? And when you have those merge conflicts, you cannot resolve them the same way you can with the text document.
Yeah.
The way we deal with it in our team is that we generally have our own separate scenes that we make tests and things on, and we just adjust those when we need to. So like I have the a parts test, because I oftentimes work on the parts of engines. I have a parts test scene where I just mess with parts or for a particular character or making new augments or whatever. And then Lane has his own, he often works on the levels, and so he has a level test scene. And my brother does the UI, particularly in the shop, so he has a shop UI scene. Yeah, so that's how we organize it. And then it's really easy because you're the only person messing with that scene most of the time.
Yeah, it requires team communication so you don't get in those headaches. And like what you're describing, that seems to be canonical way of using version control with Unity in a small team, is to have your own little part that no one else touches.
Yeah.
And then when you're ready to like put it into the scenes, you all coordinate who is going to do that and when.
Yes.
So there's no chance of difficulty.
Yeah, right? I was going to ask about that. Like, how do you start using version control?
Like, how do you set it up?
Yeah. How do you that dog.
Ikaros.
How do you begin, like, with your team? How do you start setting it up, and how do you coordinate version control?
Well, usually people start by, like, you want to start the repository when you're starting the project. Because then you just want to have it so that you can all go back all the way.
Yeah.
And there's this thing called git ignore.
Yes.
Which is super important, especially for Unity projects, because there's a bunch of stuff that your computer will be keeping track of, like project versions and things like that. But like, and your other teammates' projects will, like, computers will also be keeping track of that, but in their own way. And so, like, if you try to merge them together, you'll get all these conflicts that, like, on files you didn't touch,
right?
Because it's just the computer keep track of things. And so you can tell Git, don't look at any of these files ever.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to.
Yeah, that's what Git ignore is very useful.
Right. Yes. Certain types of metadata that are not compiled with the project.
Right.
They might have something to do with the development environment or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true no matter what you're using. So my game is being done in an Eclipse environment. And so there are certain files there that I just don't want Git to look at because it doesn't matter. And it's just extra data that's not useful. And if I am sharing with a project with another person, it's going to create tons of conflicts.
Yeah.
Yes. And if you set up the repository without a git ignore and then add the git ignore, it won't, like, undo commits that it won't ignore the files from previous commits.
Yeah.
So only ignore them going forward.
Right.
So
yeah. So it's important to establish that early, I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I think there's something in Cloudbreaker that we didn't ignore fast enough, because every single time I try to pull it, every time I'm going to touch Cloudbreaker again, I just reclone the repository, because I'm like, I don't even want to deal with this.
Yeah.
So
I didn't set that up right. And that was the one who set it up.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything at that time. Yeah. So how we learned how to do it in Prime is, Prime's the code school I went to. The whole class started working on one project, and we each got a branch of it. And then every 20 minutes we had to switch branches. And
wow. Okay.
And merge our branch with what they were doing.
Yeah.
So we had to deal with a lot of merge conflicts.
Dang, yeah, for sure.
And it was really fun. Like, if I could have a job where my job was to just handle Git merges, I would be a very happy person. I actually love merge conflicts. They make me feel very useful.
Well, it's a specialized skill that almost nobody has. So what's step one? If you don't have any software set up, you don't know how to organize your project, what's the first thing you do?
Well, you can go to Git's website and download Git. It will set it up in the command line of your computer. And also, if you want, you can download the Git's official GUI. People have mixed reviews of that. Generally, people like to get a third-party one like SourceTree or GitKraken or something.
Okay.
You mean Git or GitHub?
Git has a Git for Windows GUI.
Does it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know anyone who's used it.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of the options you can check when you're downloading it from Git.
Yeah. Because I know GitHub, which we can describe.
Oh, yeah.
Also has a GUI, but it really is meant if you're using GitHub to store your repository.
Yes. Do you want to explain what GitHub is?
Yeah, I can take a shot at it, and you can tell me what I get wrong. But no, GitHub is a lot of people feel it's synonymous with Git, which is sort of not correct. But very much people tend to use it that way. So a Git repository is just files somewhere, right? But Martha, you described this idea of local and remote, and that is something that the remote can be anywhere, right? It can be on a flash drive, it could be whatever. But a lot of people put that remote on GitHub, which is just a free public hosting for your code repositories, and free in the sense that it needs to be open source. So you can do a premium plan that you can close source your repositories. But very frequently people will put their code on GitHub, not just to use with Git, but also to share the code with other people.
Okay.
So you've probably, if you have taken code samples for your projects, you've probably been to GitHub to get them, even though you don't use Git, the software. So it's interesting, the intersection of that. But GitHub is an incredibly popular place for people to store their remotes. It makes it, it's cloud storage, basically, right?
Yeah.
And then Bitbucket is the other famous one that I know we've used in a lot of our projects, because you can, it's not limited by, you can close it down, keep it private if you have a small team. So there's just different use cases for these different services, but they interact with Git on your machine, and then it just becomes the remote repository.
And you can have multiple remotes for each project you work, like for one project you have multiple remote repositories.
Oh, so a push can simultaneously go to every registered remote? Or?
I don't know. I have to look into that, but you can individually push to multiple ones.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So there's this thing, I just taught Adia this actually. It's when you're doing a push, which is like getting your code onto the remote place you're putting it, the command line is git push and then the name of your remote and then the name of the branch on that remote that you're pushing to.
Okay.
And normally people do git push origin master, and master is the master branch. And origin, people thought that was like, people keep thinking that's a keyword. That's not a keyword. That's just a variable name that, so a name, just a name you give, you can name it whatever. So you can have more than one defined thing. You can say, oh, when I say git push production master, you can point production to like your GitHub, and then you could say, oh, I have a Heroku account. Heroku is like, It's kind of like GitHub, where it holds your repository, but it also deploys your repository. So if you're like have a web app, it will make it work. So you could do git push Heroku master, or and define multiple ones in there.
Yeah.
So on the train, I had git push flash drive master.
Cool. Nice. So once you got that set up, like what's workflow like? What's responsible Git usage?
Well, like we talked about, having everyone have their own scene file. If you're using Unity, that's really important. And then what I like to do is, like if I'm working on a branch, I like to merge my... So when you're putting two branches together, that's called a merge. And I like to merge the master branch back into the branch I'm working on first, and then fix any conflicts there on my branch, and then go to the master branch once I know it will work, and then pull the changes in from my branch. If that makes sense.
Oh, sure.
It's hard to say.
Right. So basically, all the trouble, all the complicated bits happens on your branch rather than on master.
Yeah.
Right. That makes sense.
Right. Yeah, I think that's really important, because what we try to do with Fingens is we try to make sure that the like when you're making changes to anything, you just branch off from the master and then you merge it back in once you're done. So like all of the when you have if you're working on it and like when you're making big changes and you want to make sure that this isn't really buggy or whatever, or it is going to be buggy and like it's a completely new thing, if you branch off from it and the next day you wanted to show it off to somebody, you could just pull from the master and then just show it off in there and make a build off of that. And so you won't have any issues running down the line if you push everything up to the master and you just recently were making a completely new character and it turns out the entire game is broken because of that. That has happened before.
Personal experience?
Yeah. So, well, I don't know if I don't think we've ever broken the entire game from... No, wait. Yeah, that's probably happened.
Well, keeping those separate branches lets you it lets you experiment for a while, right? Without interfering with other people's work.
Right.
And then you can when you merge it, when you try to get it to the master, you can undo whatever it doesn't work with it. But it lets you work more without having to like constantly check in.
Right. Yeah.
With the other teammates. Right.
Yeah. It allows you to do work on your own without having to deal with other people for a little bit. Ooh, that dog.
Oh, poor guy.
Come here. Yeah.
He's jumping around and trying to find his place in the clubhouse.
He wants to be on the podcast.
So, Martha, what's the best practice for like how often you commit, how often you push? Like, I know that, there's when I'm working on a art document or a video edit, I will just reflexively control save all the time. Every day or twice a day, I'll iterate a version or something, and that's just like I'm constantly doing that. But you kind of can't be committing like 10 times a day, like the same way. Like what's too often? What's not often enough? When is a good time to commit your changes?
That's a good question. Generally, when I commit when I have... So when you make a commit, you have to write a little message about what you've done. And some people get very lazy and just put commit and then send it off.
Right, that's a restriction of Git itself. That you have. So I know that source tree will let you just timestamp it, so you can just say like, I don't want to write anything, just put the date on this. Which I think is a workaround for that.
Yeah, but if you want it to be nice and readable for other people or for yourself, future self, you can write in like what you've done. And I generally commit when I have something significant that I can write in there. Right. So like something like a function that I've written that's worked. Like generally when something gets to a workable space, then I'm like, if it gets to a point where I'm like, if I lost this, I would be very, very sad.
Right.
Yeah. But when I have something that's I can write a meaningful commit message about, I usually commit it.
Right. And those commit messages matter not just going forward, but going back.
Yes.
Right. If you need to undo anything, you need to know where you're going.
Yeah.
Describing it in a way that can make sense to you or your team. Right.
Like added claw functionality.
Yeah.
Or the timer works now, or something like that. And sometimes I get really like put snarky things in there. Like. Right.
Well, I know during game jams on day 2, they tend to be just like blah.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
I broke the thing; it's not broke no more. Like, it tends to be a reflection of your attitude.
It was nice that when I worked at North Games, like it's a good way to show your progress to like if you're employed somewhere too, or just for yourself to look at the commits. My boss in North Game printed out all my commit messages that I've worked since I started working there, and just went through and was like, see, look, you are committing more often now, which means that you're like making meaningful bits of code more often, and that's showing growth and stuff like that.
Right, so there's a psychological benefit to showing progress and being able to recall progress.
Yeah.
I know sometimes I'll work for like 2 weeks. I'm like, what did I even do? And I'll look back at what the state of my project was 2 weeks ago. I'm like, wow, I did a lot, but I don't remember it because I'm busy working on it.
Yeah.
So that's just a way to mark progress, not just for like, for good code practice, but just for your own well-being.
Yeah.
In addition, you can use it to, if you write detailed enough notes, you can use it to search through to find things. Like maybe you did way back when, like I worked on a character and I wanted to figure out what the value I did on this character was when I started. I could just search on Git and figure it out.
Yeah, I have done that too, where before, I think a lot of people can sympathize, relate to this before they start using version control. You comment a lot of code that you're done with, but you might need later. So your code will be just loaded with comments of just like things you don't want to get rid of yet.
Yeah.
Because you can't save as easily as you can with other types of documents. Yeah. But I have definitely found that if I did want to go back, I could look at old commits, and even in these GUIs, you can actually see. You don't have to revert. You can actually just take a look at the old documents and just copy that code out of there if you need it again. That has been so freeing because it makes you work faster. It makes you less precious about what you're doing, because you can just kind of power through and you can always come back to it.
Yeah.
And that's really great. It is just having a time machine.
It makes it able to have cleaner code because you don't have to worry about comment, like if it's going to be there later, you can just be like, oh, I have it in a commit.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
And that really, just the way we've been talking about it, it's like the unit in Git is the commit.
Yes.
That is the sort of unit of measurement, right? Even more so than the branch or the actual changes in each document. The commit includes a moment in time, and it can be one document, it could be 40, it could be 100 binary files, it could be anything, right? And that can get you into trouble. But that's the language. That's the language of Git then. Yeah. So what if people want to know more? They feel like, okay, I'm not a master yet, but I'm getting there. What are resources to I don't know, get as good at it as you are?
Every time you say good.
I know. I'm hearing it too.
Well, there's a lot of good courses on Code School about Git. Going through Git, the Git website itself has a lot of documentation about it.
Having had been at your talk would have
Yes,
been great, right?
yes.
So hopefully some of you benefited from that.
If only we had a glitch vault.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right? Wouldn't that be great?
Maybe I'll have someone in the future, in the past, recorded.
Maybe that will have had been done.
Yes. Well, that's been a really technical thing. Let's go to something more aesthetic.
A little softer topic, perhaps.
Okay. So I want to talk about game art direction or style.
Yeah.
That is my topic for the evening. Well, what is game art? The direction. I mean, like, it's the style in which your game looks. Like, for example, 8-bit or cel-shaded, things like that. I'm curious as to how you should make that decision on what your game should look like. I'm not exactly sure how we decided on the idea for Vengeance, but because we wanted it to be cartoony and stuff, we decided on a comic book aesthetic. My brother, I'm pretty sure, Charles McGregor, the perpetual student, I believe he came up with the idea, and we just ran with it, and the game looks great because of it.
Yeah,
because of that.
Yeah. Sometimes these things can be formed just by, like, you start to doodle, and then sooner or later you have a style, and then future decisions are based against that. Other times it's like takes a lot of like iteration and workshopping and like decision making and arguing if you have a team. And trying it out and breaking it down. We talked a little bit about some similar topics when we were talking about developer art.
Yes.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like when do you commit to the style? And there's not really a right answer. I forget what our ruling on that was, but like with most of our topics, it's just like just try hard.
Practice.
Yeah. But for Metro Nexus, I had a direct inspiration. I wanted my game to have an aesthetic that felt like public transit wayfinding. And so that, and then there's actually a book in particular that I used as a lot of inspiration, which was the New York Transit Authority Design Style Guide, which is all the sort of classic subway signs you see in New York City. That wasn't a direct aesthetic inspiration, but it as a system. It very much was. The idea that like in my game, buttons sort of look like signs, and they are 200 pixels, 400 pixels, or 800 pixels wide. So because that is how the when you had to go to a machine shop or a sign shop to make these things, you had to choose the number of options that could fit all situations. And so my art style is very much defined by like a sort of a physicality in a sense, even though it's very deliberately digital. So those are kinds of things that are outside of aesthetics that can influence your style.
That's something I didn't know about your game. That's really cool. What about you, Martha? Like, how do you decide? You're working on your the point and click adventure game. Do you have an art style figured out for that yet?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
What is it? If you don't mind me asking.
Paint us a picture.
I really am basing like. My whole thought process about it was the games I played as a kid, the humongous adventure games, which are kind of a cartoony style. Like Vengeance reminds me so much of Spy Fox.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like there's this little sub game that like you can play on his Spy Watch or whatever, and it's very Vengeance-esque. It's great. But I also kind of like the idea of like having it very like kind of paper, like cloth looking, like like sort of patchworked together and I don't know, textured.
Sure.
That's kind of, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. But
sounds like
I've got whole scenes in my head. And what all the characters look like and everything.
Cool.
But like I have a particular way of drawing, and I'm going to be the one drawing it. So I think
that's probably another way of like figuring out your art style is just whatever you can do.
It's I mean, you've analyzed what you're not just capable of, but like what you can produce at volume. Right. And then you just work in those or you hire someone, right? Like I think there's lots of considerations other than imagination that you need to take into account.
Yeah, for sure.
There are definitely game art. Like I feel like we've talked about this before, where like our game ideas. I think me and Mark both have a similar thing where they kind of start with what you want to look like.
A little bit. I've had that for sure. And then there's times that I think mostly yes, but
of course, like exceptions.
It's funny. Those exceptions are the ones I remember the most because they're different from how I normally operate. Right? But you're totally right.
I wouldn't think to come up with an art style and then make the game, but hey, whatever works.
Yeah. Well, I mean, back when I was making films, a lot of times the projects I had in mind came from a single image that I was thinking of, or a scene, or just a single line of dialogue, and then it didn't. And then I built backwards from that. Like, how would that make sense in a story? And then I would find something a story that would work for that.
I see.
And so I think a lot of people will, when they think of like how to create art, they kind of think like, oh, you need this big idea that then you fill in the details. Like sometimes you can have really superficial details you're just attached to, and then you could build something important around it, something larger, more interesting. There isn't a wrong way to do it, but you do have to have like things have to flow from the last thing you thought of. It sort of has to. There needs to be a cohesiveness, I think, for it to be successful and for you to be efficient.
Right. We've talked about that on the show in the past. That is important. And now I see what you're saying. It's basically like having a main idea for your game that you're building off.
Yeah, actually, even the language to describe it is very similar to like how you design your mechanics.
Yeah.
It's like, I just want to design something where like there's like a double jump and then you like a ground pound. Like I'm just interested in that. And then like you have nothing else. Well, if you like that, you can build out from there into something much more interesting that may even not include that original idea or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, cool. Perhaps putting you on the spot here, but what game can you think of offhand that has a good art direction or style that you really enjoyed?
I really like the way Assassin's Creed.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. And maybe the earlier ones rather than the later ones.
Okay.
They have this kind of goes back to our UI discussion a little bit, but like the aesthetic of the Animus matched up against the sort of medieval worlds of those first couple games. I think it felt very directed, felt very purposeful. I think later it started to just become so like a spin on itself that it didn't make as much sense anymore.
Yeah.
And it just kind of has like it looks like an Assassin's Creed game. But those first couple ones felt kind of revelatory to me.
Huh. Interesting. I would not. Well, I guess in terms of UI and stuff, I would agree with you on that. But I wouldn't consider Assassin's Creed to be very appealing, at least to me. It's like I don't really like very realistic looking games in general.
Oh, I see.
Things like Watch Dogs or Call of Duty and stuff. I feel like they try too hard to look realistic, and it just ends up not being as cool as, like, say, Wind Waker, for example. Which
sure. I guess for Assassin's Creed, it's really about like in that first game particularly, when you're on the rooftops, like the architecture, which is based on real world places, but like the idea of close your eyes and think of a scene from Assassin's Creed, and it's like the art style is just like, but mostly realistic style,
right?
But also in that first one particularly, it's like it's a little foggy. It's a little gray, but there's a lot of reds. Like it actually does have more. It's a little more subtle, perhaps.
Yeah.
So it's not just the UI. I think there's a little more to it. But you're right. Wind Waker is a great example. Of like, that is something that is just those are choices that were made.
Oh man,
real distinct.
I love Wind Waker because it just feels like you're playing in not an art painting, but like a kind of like a comic book. It kind of feels like you're playing in a comic book. It's great. And I just love how all the explosions look. You got the little swirls when they explode and stuff. It's quite a beautiful game,
right? And that one extends to the animation as well. So of a piece with the just the straight aesthetics of it.
Yeah. Martha, you just watching Ikaros do Ikaros things?
Sorry. Yes.
That's right.
It was a mistake to bring the dog in.
Also, I might know the band that's downstairs because there aren't very many Arabic music bands in Minnesota. Anyway, very distracted. What were you asking? Did you ask me something? I'm sorry.
It's okay. Games that have a good art style that you enjoyed watching.
Oh, so many. I feel like I pick a lot of games based on what they look like.
Oh, really?
Well, the obvious one is Borderlands because I love Borderlands so much, and a lot of it has to do with the art.
It's so interesting that game changed art direction so suddenly.
Yeah.
And ended up working out much better as a result.
It fits totally so much better. Like the game is really funny and but also still kind of dark. And so it's got that like black humor, I guess, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
It's funny that we talk about like through the lens of art direction because all I can think about is games we've already talked about on this show that I liked for other reasons. So that says something. Like I'm thinking like Paper Mario is another great example of something of a real distinct art style that is itself a spin on a established art style, right? This sort of Mario look.
Yeah.
But has its own charm and grace to it almost. But that's not the only reason I love that game. But I guess maybe it's a big part of why I do. Right?
Yeah. I suppose so. Yeah, Paper Mario is really cool. And I love it when they just go all in on paper.
Yeah.
Where like Paper Mario can fold himself into a paper airplane and stuff.
Yeah.
That's just funny.
Well, in the most recent one, like one of the toads has a stamp on his back.
Really?
And he gets folded up and mailed. Like, it's just great. Like,
that's awesome.
Oh, wow. That is wonderful.
Yeah. Which is, it's why the Borderlands switch is so incredible because it happens so late in the process that usually these things work great when they tie into the mechanics and story, but it's not, you can do that at the last minute, and still make it work so well as they did.
Mm-hmm.
What other ones have I played recently that I really like? Well, I just finished Thimbleweed Park, and I really like that one too.
That has a nice nostalgic feel to it.
Yes. Yeah. It's very 8-bit, like old style.
Very deliberate. It looks like Maniac Mansion.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Which is funny because like when we played Day of the Tentacle, like that was my first big adventure game, and it's very much like Warner Brothers cartoony, and so the slightly older games like that I have no nostalgia for. So Thimbleweed Park, I'm like, that just looks gross. Like it just looks ugly to me. But I'm like, oh right, it looks just like Maniac Mansion. I could see why people would love it.
Yeah.
And it's very distinct, and it's not an accident that it looks like that. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah, they definitely did that on purpose, just to capture that feel from the past.
Yeah.
What about games with bad art directions? Potentially, they could even be potentially good games that have bad art directions, or at least, in your opinion, they're bad art directions.
Civ 6?
Oh, snap.
You think so?
Shots fired.
People, like the rulers, they made them all like their hands are really big and they're like they just distorted parts of their bodies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, and they have like really skinny wrists and really skinny necks, and it makes them look kind of bobbleheady.
Oh.
Yeah, there's also a comic quality to it.
Yeah.
But like Uncanny Valley comic, like almost realistic, but not. I don't like it.
Okay.
I could see that. I really liked, I know you like Civ 5 better for other reasons, but I liked the sort of bronzed styling of Civ 5. Like that sort of Art Deco look. I really liked that a lot. And Civ 6 just felt like different and like didn't feel as purposeful, I don't think.
The dog's whimpering.
Yeah.
I do like the in Civ 6 the map. Even though I don't like necessarily how contrasty it is, or not contrasty between the drawn look and the you haven't explored this. It gets very confusing.
It's like a 3-stage thing, right?
Yeah. But I do like the feel that like, oh, I'm looking at a physical map. Like they really play that up, and I think that's really cool. But I just wish they had gone that like sketchy direction with the characters too, and not made them try to be these weird. I don't know what they were trying to do.
Yeah, I guess that kind of speaks to the sort of unsureness I have about Civ 6. Is it like a lot of interesting artistic ideas, but it doesn't really hang all together. It's not really bad. It's just it doesn't achieve greatness the way it totally should have, I suppose.
Well, maybe they should have just went all in on a direction instead of the mishmash that I'm hearing from you guys.
Yeah. Well, I think that's just the case with mechanics or story. It's like having a vision is important. Yeah. Which is, I mean, maybe that's not fair to them to say that it didn't, but it doesn't feel like as much as previous. You know, perhaps.
The game that I wanted to talk about was I'm probably going to catch some heat on this, but Mass Effect. It's so well. First of all, everything looks really grainy to me. Like it, and it's not very colorful. Like when you're going off in space and you're doing like a space epic thing, you would think that the environments would be like grand and massive and like beautiful but exotic looking. But in Mass Effect, that is rarely the case. It's oftentimes just like generic looking backgrounds. Yeah. Like they got the ice planet. It just looks like an ice planet. And then they got the moon, which, I mean, I guess you can't do a ton with the moon, but I mean, still, there's just not a lot going on in any of the environments. Now, as opposed to like No Man's Sky, despite what did they say? There are 9 kajillion and 2 planets.
Kajillion, I think, is the word they used. Yeah.
Kajillion, yes.
But okay.
It should be. But like all of the planets look exotic and unique and just different because they have all of these different color styles and different art pieces and everything. Yeah, it's a lot better than what Mass Effect did. Even in the new one, Mass Effect Andromeda, sometimes they had those more interesting looking environments, but it isn't enough, I guess, for me.
You know, Mass Effect is one where I think they did a good job of picking something and going with it. Yeah, but there's no accounting for taste. Like it just. It can feel a little bland sometimes. Yeah. Like, I'm kind of with you. I like parts of it, but I think I can't really defend it as much because everything you're saying just sounds true to me. So I feel like, even though I don't dislike it the way you do, I'm like, no, you're pretty much right.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Not to say that the game is bad, but
well, as indie devs, we have the opportunity to put more of a stamp on our projects than bigger projects do. Like what Night in the Woods is a recent example of like the really strong art style.
Yeah.
Undertale is another one
also
that you can tell, has a lot of thought is put into it.
Feels like a Game Boy Advance game. Not a Game Boy Advance game. Game Boy Color.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a good example. Did you give an example, Mark?
I might have.
What did you say?
Assassin's Creed.
No, you said that was good.
Oh, bad
Assassin's Creed bad too?
Oh, no. I've played that trick before. No. I don't know. I'm like Martha. I will pick a game because I think it looks cool. Mm-hmm. Like, that might seem shallow, but I think that matters as much as other things.
I mean, yeah.
And there are games where I will not touch, and then I find out later they were masterpieces.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to love them because I feel it needs to have holistic. It needs to have all of it for me. And so I don't have a lot of great examples because I don't really feel betrayed by many games in that way. Because I usually never see them if I don't like them at first.
Okay. Well, that's a easy way to determine whether or not you'll want to try something.
Yeah. I mean, actually, now that I say it out, like I guess one that I feel is sort of bland and boring is like all the Grand Theft Auto games.
Oh yeah.
I feel like they have this kind of this sort of weird sort of sheen on them. Like I hate the logo so much. I think it's I don't know. Just like how Apple computers have looked the same for 12 years and people still think that's hip. It's like, no, it was hip in 2006. Like it's just cool now because Apple's doing it. I feel like Grand Theft Auto is the same thing. It's like they've kept that same dumb logo, that weird collage art, cover art they do each time. Like all of their characters are like it's supposed to look like a bad movie, and it just looks bad. Like I don't know.
But the city, so realistic.
I guess so. But like Steven, you were saying when I was brought up Assassin's Creed, that surprised you because you didn't feel there was a lot of direction in like a realistic world. I guess maybe with Grand Theft Auto, it's kind of the same. Like it's a really well made thing. But then all the choices they do make, like all their stupid like billboards that they think are clever and funny, it's like worse than South Park character jokes.
Funny.
Man, I'm like really going off on this now.
Quick, change the topic.
Yeah, I think where I come up against things is when, and Grand Theft Auto is an example of this, is when they're so proud of themselves, and it's just like that's what really gets me. I'm like, do what you're gonna do, and there is no accounting for taste.
Yeah,
but like they're too proud of themselves.
Yeah, I guess I've never played a Grand Theft Auto game because the whole the game doesn't really appeal to me.
Sure.
So I'm not, but I am familiar with like the billboards and stuff, and they oftentimes feel very ham-fisted.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I guess is kind of what they're going for in the game, and so they went all in on it. But man, it's a strange direction to go all in on, I suppose. Whatever works. I find myself really liking cartoony looking games.
Yeah.
A lot more than realistic looking games. Like I've played Fingens, for example, is cartoony and fun. Paper Mario, things like that. And I find myself wanting to play those games more than more realistic things most of the time.
Yeah, I would agree.
Have I told you how much you would love Cuphead yet?
Oh, I know. I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay, good. Yeah. I'm glad.
And literally only because of the aesthetic, because the gameplay is mainly all boss fights, and it's like, I mean, it's a weird platformer shoot 'em up which is kind of interesting. But I don't know much about the gameplay myself, but I'm solely interested in it largely because of the cartoony style. It's really great.
I think that's going to be good. And it got delayed, I think, to get more substance in the game.
Yeah.
And so that I think it was a good sign. So we'll see.
Yeah. When is this supposed to come out?
I don't know. Now that I said it out loud, maybe it's out.
No, it's not out yet because I would have known. But that's something to look forward to. Yeah. But yeah, those kinds of things. Unique looking visuals. Like, I don't actually like the way that oh dear, what's the space game? I just talked about it. Not Mass Effect.
No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky, thank you. I don't actually like the way No Man's Sky looked because I don't know what it is. I really like what they went, or the direction they went, because all of the planets look new and different from Earth. Yeah. But I guess the way that the colors interact with one another it doesn't look right to me. But but it still looks different, and maybe that's like the point. That's probably the point.
For a game as random as that game is, it does have a distinct style all of its own, which is that's an achievement.
Yeah.
Yeah. And whether you really are into it or not, like you can recognize how, the care that it took to make that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh man, I want Cuphead so bad. It looks so cool.
What do you say we move on to our final topic?
We should.
Which is my topic. It's console versus PC, which I think is maybe a loaded phrase. But I want to talk about it in perspective, from the perspective of a game dev.
Uh-huh.
Console versus PC.
Right. But, I think I am a console gamer, generally, right? I grew up on the classic Nintendo. That's what games are to me. I played Myst and Quake, and I have a PC gaming history. But, I have a pretty powerful machine at home that I use for my video work, and I don't have any games on it. And it seems so silly. So as a gamer, I've only recently realized how weird that relationship can be. But as a developer, we are PC developers. We make games for computers. Right. And just because we have better access there. And so I've sort of had to contend with what that, I've had to learn more about what a PC gamer is so I can make a game for them. Because I still sort of don't know, I'm not really on Steam, and so sometimes I feel lost. Steven, you and I were making 4-player multiplayer games.
Right.
And we've talked about it, but it's still weird to me that I have to, someone who might buy my game may own no game controllers.
Yeah.
And I have to account for that person.
Yeah.
Not that I need to cater to them specifically, but I have to, if they want to play my game, I need to give them something, and that's sort of, that's difficult. So that's the main example. But what do you guys think? Am I overthinking this perhaps? That there's a big difference there as a development?
No, there's definitely a difference between developing for console and developing for PC. For example, if you're developing for Xbox, you know that they have at least one controller.
Right.
So you know what that controller is, and you can design the game around that. You can design it based off of the Xbox One's unique setup or whatever compared to PS4 or even on PC where you have bajillion and 2 different controllers.
Yeah.
Gajillion.
Uh-huh. That's the word they used.
Word of the day.
Brought to you by.
But it's definitely something you have to keep track of if you're developing on console. But it's simplified, I suppose, in that way. It's hard to get on a console, but if you are on console, you only need to be concerned with this one specific thing. And even if you have multiplayer, it's much more likely for console gamers to have 2 or 3 controllers than it is for a PC gamer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And a lot of those technical concerns. There's still, I think, when you're getting down and actually getting your hands dirty and making your product, those matter a lot. But really, it's never been easier to make the same game for both. And so right. The real differences that concern me are about the sort of the non-technical stuff. The fact that console gamers play on their couch in their living room. PC gamers sometimes do, but so in our games, people have their PCs in their dens, and are they going to have 4 people in that room? Not just 4 controllers. That's sort of hard to, you kind of just have to assume that, my game will just go out to the people who can make it work. But then you have to decide, and we don't really play test for that, because when we do our playtest sessions, we plug our PCs into televisions, and we just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, there's, what's that book called? We've talked a little bit about it, and it's been kind of controversial, but the lenses of game design or something like that. We'll put it in the show notes. But there's some not great stuff in some of the chapters. But there's one chapter that's I think about a lot, where it's talking about the different games working in different spaces on different things. And he was talking about how consoles are kind of what have replaced the hearth, is what he calls it. So a place where people go and sit together. And then the PC is more like the workbench. You go and you play most of the things by yourself, or more games you can spend more time on and more focus.
Interesting. When I play on PC games, I often, depends on the game, but oftentimes I will play a console game by myself and play PC games with other people.
Oh, interesting.
You mean online?
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. I haven't played League of Legends in months, but when I did, I would gather with other people, because playing League of Legends by yourself is so bad.
Well, there still is a difference between being by yourself in an online situation and being around the hearth in a physical space with others.
Right.
I mean, maybe that's a really old-fashioned idea, but I still see that description still apt.
I think it doesn't apply, like, and he was writing this before there was, like, I don't know when that part of the book got written.
Yeah.
And, like, if the rise of online multiplayer was a thing.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, I suppose, but, like, when I'm playing League of Legends, I am intending to be social. And I'm intending to play with other people.
Yeah.
As opposed to a lot of times when I'm playing a console game, I intend to play by myself, and I don't want people interrupting me while I'm playing my game.
Interesting.
Well, a lot of the times.
How to annoy Steven.
Yeah, I guess I could see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
It's kind of switched almost.
It depends. I mean, obviously, it always depends on the game, but, like, I often find myself not wanting to play multiplayer games on console just because a lot of the am also
so we're not gonna play Mario Kart 8 Deluxe together. Got it. All right,
we're doing it.
All right, got it.
No, we can play it.
You said it, man.
Wait, doesn't that come out? Oh shoot, I think that's out.
It'll be out by the time this is out.
Yeah, for sure.
So we've been enjoying it for a little while now.
We all played it at GlitchCon. It was fun.
Oh my gosh, you're right. As of the recording of this, it's like 2 days away.
I know.
Okay, change of topic.
Mario Kart. No, shoot, no, I got track. Lost track. Track. On console games, like I have a lot. I mean, I'm also a console gamer like you, Mark. But so I often buy most of my games on console because I don't want to deal with having to deal with. I don't have a good PC. I just have my laptop, and so I don't want to deal with all of the issues that arise from playing on PC because it can crash or it doesn't run well enough, so it's really slow or whatever. You don't have to deal with that if you're playing on PS4, which is nice. And so I buy a lot of my games on there, and a lot of the games I'm interested in oftentimes are single-player games. And so I guess what really has happened is that it's the console game is just, or consoles are more accessible to me, and so I play a lot of the single-player games that I would play on the console. Whereas a lot of my friends have at least a PC that can run League of Legends or whatever MMO at the time. And so I can play that with them without having to, or on that, but like not everybody has a PlayStation 4. So I wouldn't be able to play a PlayStation 4 multiplayer game.
Well, you're talking about like the power of a PC required for certain types of games. League famously can run on a shoebox, right? Because a lot of those games are designed to be as broadly accessible as possible. Yep. And as designers, as developers, like how do you target those things? You kind of just target what works on your laptop, right?
Yeah.
When you're working, and then that's when you don't have a QA or optimization team to really help you out determine these things. But Unity gives you some tools, right? You can do different texture qualities or resolutions and frame rates and stuff set. But to me, that feels so uninteresting. I think as a developer, like I'm not excited about that. Like solving that, I kind of just want to target something, and if that just means middle of the road PC / whatever console, that's okay. But I know that PC gamers very much they buy their fancy machines so they can max out their settings. And if you don't have a game that caters to that,
then
that's. I mean, you have a 3D game that looks fine, looks okay, but a gamer who spent a lot of money on their PC wants to get some value out of your game,
right?
And maybe they can't. So those audiences scare me because I don't know anything. I can't relate to that audience as much as I wish I could.
Yeah, that's the kind of like thing that is confusing to me a lot of times. I feel like with PC games and PC gamers, they oftentimes will buy machines specifically for the power, not for the game itself. Which confuses me because
but don't you want a sweet rig with a 1080 graphics card, water cooled?
Yeah, water cooler.
Well, it's why people buy pickup trucks and outfit their garages with many power tools.
I mean, it's because they need the power.
It's also why people collect amiibo. Like it's a universal human desire is to like build and have and more than for reasons other than what it's practical for.
I understand that, but like
feel the power.
I understand that, but I guess what confuses me is like if I wouldn't buy a console if it's the most powerful thing on the market solely because it's the most powerful thing on the market. I would buy a console because I'm interested in the games that are on there.
Sure.
And so I suppose my ideal setup would be I have a Nintendo Switch, which I do, and a nice computer. But I don't have a nice computer because, well, a lot of the games that I'm interested in are oftentimes on PC.
Right.
And you can play them better and you have mods and things. Those are something you should consider too, or mods.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've had this conversation around here about my game, which uses different art styles for the different levels. Mm-hmm. And my philosophy on creating an avenue for players to interact with that. And as someone who believes in authorial intent, I'm a little not super comfortable with just opening it up. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I would rather make it possible than like make people like fight for it.
Yeah.
If it's just going to be possible anyway. Like, I'd rather do it my way rather than just like make it difficult for people. If the audience kind of wants that, then like I should find a way to make what I want to say work toward that desire. And so I don't exactly know how I can approach that. Partly because again, it's hard for me to relate to how do I satisfy that desire?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll have a hard time recognizing when I've done that. Mm-hmm. But that is interesting. But I mean, with Vengeance, have you thought about like, letting people access, like XML files that can change values just for like cheat modes, basically things that PC gamers are used to futzing with?
It's not really something we've considered.
Fishing mods.
Fishing mods. You could play as the fish instead of the submarines. That'd be interesting. It's not really
constantly dying because you run out of air.
Perfect. Ship it.
I want to edit in the sonic drowning noise.
It's not really something we've considered because, like, it's not. Well, it's not. I'm not. Like I said, I'm not a PC gamer. My brother's not a PC gamer. Mm-hmm. Lane is more of a PC gamer than both of us.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. We haven't really. We're not opposed to people modding the game or changing how the things look or whatever.
Sure.
At the end of the day, it's their game and they can do what they want with it.
Oh, for sure.
But we're probably not going to have any specific modding tools like Steam. What's it? Not Steam Greenlight. Steam
Workshop.
Steam Workshop. Yeah. We're not going to have any of those kinds of tools because we don't know how to implement them and we don't have any desire to implement them.
Speaking of Steam, and another audience I know nothing about is the Steam development portal, which I have access to now, really pushes those things on you. The platform-specific features like Workshop, inventory items like cards, and like Steam has this marketplace. I must sound like a total doddering old man now, but Steam has this like marketplace where you can trade trading cards.
Yeah. No one gets the trading cards.
Okay, good.
Well, no, I thought people were making money off of those.
They did for a while. Now they nerfed all the prices of them, so they're all worth like 0.0001 cents.
Oh, really?
So now no one cares.
Okay. I don't know. It just feels like a real economy in those things seems like not gaming anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's old fashioned.
Well, but Steam really pushes these things people who think that they're cool. I'm sorry.
I suppose, yeah.
Not me and my friends do not care.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. It seems strange, but
Valve really does, and maybe it's just because it's their platform specific things. But like the impression I get is that like you get way more engagement on Steam if you do this, and like maybe that some of that is that Valve will naturally, like put you in their search algorithms.
Yeah.
Not as a trick, but like. It's just as a result of it. That's how it's designed.
Yeah.
If it has more features, it's more valuable.
Right, you check off more boxes.
Yeah, and part of that is you can't change the way the world is, but sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to think about those things. I just don't.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to include like achievements of a kind, but like, I'm not sure how excited I am about implementing like Steam achievements.
Right.
I don't really care, but maybe I should.
You could be like, you won with I don't know.
You're so close.
You won by killing everyone.
Yeah.
Or you won by filling out all the tiles.
Yeah.
Here's what you do. You name an achievement the Steven Achievement.
Steven Achievement.
And what
Stevechievement.
Dear Lord. When you have to win the game, a multiplayer game, by clearing all of your tiles up in a multiplayer game.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
Okay.
But like
I like it.
You got to do it for a certain number of times, like 20 or something. That's the Steve.
Design this for me, and I will put it in the game.
Okay. Yep. Great.
Maybe that's not a great example because, like, I've looked at the SDK. It's not that hard to implement that. But again, it's sort of like again, it's catering to an audience that I'm not as familiar with is really just the main theme I keep coming back to with these things. But console gaming, and we're talking about PC gaming mostly because that is kind of the world we live in and what we have access to. But or PC gaming, but console gaming is more accessible to us now than it's ever been. You can self-publish on PlayStation. You have to sign up with them, but like you kind of just have to give them a design document. Like, I'm working on a game. My understanding is they're not that difficult. You have to buy a dev kit. That's not an easy swing for everybody. But you can just easily self-publish a game on PlayStation.
Yeah.
Microsoft announced at GDC you can self-publish with them. There's some requirements, some limitations there. That's not quite the same as their ID at Xbox program, which is more of a curated indie selection.
Yeah.
And Nintendo will open up Switch development sometime next year.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So it is. I mean, and because everyone's using Unity, and it all works with that. So
it's never been easier to put games on console, but you still have to get through the process of getting it onto the console.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to just make a game and throw it up on itch.io.
That's right. And the truth is, it's actually easier, like in terms of the gatekeeping required, it's easier to publish on PlayStation than it is on Steam. But still, it is actually easier for people to publish on Steam.
Yeah.
In the sense that more people do it and more people choose that avenue. It costs a lot less, certainly. But just otherwise, on your own website, on itch, that makes it an awful lot easier.
Yeah. So it's, if you have experience doing it on PC, then like it makes a lot of sense to just go ahead and do it. And I really think a lot of times it just depends on what game you're trying to develop. Like with Vengeance, it would be great if we could throw it up on consoles because it's a couch co-op game and it's hard.
Yeah.
And so we would want to support that audience and we want to bring it to that audience. And that audience is often on consoles.
And I'll make this pitch to you on this show. Like, you guys scrape together some money to get yourself a PS4 dev kit because, I mean, that's an audience that would love that.
Oh, yeah, I know.
You know, and I think that should be part of your day one release plan, I'll say.
Well, dang.
Sorry.
Well, now we got to do all of this stuff now, Mark.
But a lot of the console stuff is because it is, again, it's not like, flip a switch easy, but it's easier than it's ever been. But I think a lot of the indie dev community doesn't understand that. And so you don't make the effort to move forward. I know that I've held back a little bit on some of that because I feel like it's a bigger deal than it is.
Yeah.
Maybe because it used to be such a big deal.
I see.
I'm curious to hear from listeners who have gone through this process or have just thought about this. Like, if you really look at like a list of this is what it takes to publish on these platforms, does that square with how you sort of think of it in your head? Because sometimes it doesn't for me. I don't realize like how few steps there really are. There's just some big steps and some money costing steps, for sure. But
yeah, I'm curious too. Listeners should come and let us know.
Yeah. All right, that is our show. If you haven't already, subscribe to Nice Games Club in your favorite podcast app, and be sure to give it a good review if you liked it or are nice like us. We super need you to know that you're out there, so leave us a review and tell all your friends too. We also hear directly from you, so follow us on Twitter and all the other things at Nice Games Club. Let us know how we're doing. Send us your topics. Ask us your questions. Give us your feedback. And where can they do that, Stephen?
nicegames.club/feedback.
Yeah, tell us what you think of the show. Lastly, you can find out more about the show and your nice hosts, as well as get all the links and notes from this and other episodes at nicegames.club. So, until we start again, remember to
play nice
and make nice. Wait, no, now I've lost my train of thought. Crap. Edit this out, Mark.
Okay.
We should just compile all these edit this out marks.
I'm doing that. I'm sticking them at the end of episodes.
I know. I noticed that.